Thank you for tuning into the S&V 500, Episode 3. Joining me is my co-host, Michael Vass. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well. Life is getting better.
I know, man. I know. And, we are living in a time like never before. It's headline after headline. I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on everything?
Well, first, I want to mention to everyone out there, I apologize. This Biden economy has been hitting me as hard as it's been hitting everyone else. Took me down for 2 weeks, monetary issues. We're all suffering right now because we are in a recession. I don't know why they won't say that word. Actually, I know why they won't say the word, and we'll get into it in the show. But one of the big things that are bothering me right now, I guess it would be that every time that we see an issue that is facing America, the progressive left, they seem to want to redefine the meaning of everything that we all know and understand and tell us that we're just stupid. We just don't get it. Oh, it's a recession. Well, no, we changed the rules on what's a recession. Here's a vaccine. No, let's change the meaning of a vaccine. Let's change the meaning of the words man and woman because it doesn't help them if we actually go by the historical, in some cases, thousands of years old meanings. So they have to change everything so that they can say, no, you're just dumb. You just don't get it. Please do what we say. And that's very upsetting to me because it's not just destroying. They're not doing this because of me. I'm 54. They don't care. They want me to die. And they're looking forward to it. But what they want are the 10-year-olds, the 8-year-olds, the 5-year-olds, the kids that they're trying to convince to chop off their genitals. They're trying to get those kids to listen to these new definitions, these new meanings, to think that the Second Amendment only applies to sports, only applies to recreation. You can't defend yourself. You don't have that right. You don't have a right to free speech. You don't have a right to have your own independent opinion. It's everything has to be approved by the government who's going to micromanage your life. This is what they are after. They're after the children. And that's why I'm so upset about redefining everything in America. It's not about my life. It's about our kids and our grandkids and the fact that they will never enjoy the freedom that we have right now, as diminished as it is becoming, because they will never know if we don't speak up. And I wish there were more people speaking up and taking the good fight today so that we can stop the kids from tomorrow from having to have that same fight. So that's one of the big things that's been on my mind.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Very well said. I want to bring on the screen. We got a bunch of people joining us.
Gas is going down. Do you believe it?
No.
So the press secretary,
maybe for a very short term, but not for long.
Well, anyways, I'll just bring it up really quick. The press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, that's how Tucker says it. I like it. So she said that gas is down 81 cents a gallon, 81 cents a gallon in 19 states, and gas is coming down all across the nation. Now, let me remind everybody that they caused the gas, not Russia. They caused the gas to go over the roof, break the glass ceiling, whatever it is, and then they've come in with a solution, trying to tell everybody, convince everybody that, hey, look, we're here to save the day. We have the solution. We're here for you, the American people. It's a total lie. So what the thing is that we're seeing what a recession looks like, and they changed the definition of a recession. And let me bring this up too. When the White House was saying that the recession is not 2 consecutive quarters, with it being down, they were saying that. And Google, if you went out to Google and you Google what is a recession, it literally said when the economy is down for 2 consecutive quarters. The day after it came out that we were in a recession based on that definition, Google changed it the night before. They changed the definition. So when people went out there and Google what is a recession, they would get something completely different.
But you can look back at Barron's, you can look at the Wall Street Journal, you can look at any textbook from any college. This is, and listen to any economist who's spoken about anything. Hey, go to any economist talking about an economy, say Bush, say Trump, say Bush Sr., Reagan. Let's go all the way back in time. You name it. You're going to get the same consistent answer from those same Democrats that have just now changed all of the definitions because they know that they are lying to the public. And again, it's like I said, they changed the definition of women. They changed the definition of vaccine. They will change the meanings of words to match the politics that they want because they want power. I think you're right on it, Mr. Johnson. Go on.
Yeah. So, I've noticed it, and you hit the nail on the head when they want to change the definition of a woman. They want to change the definition of what it is to be a boy, a girl. They want to change the definition of, the food on the shelves. Oh, it's not that much. This is normal. And one of the things that got me is how they talk about the gas prices. Again, the gas prices in other countries, $11. And they said, well, it's $11 there. We should all just get used to it here being $7. No, it doesn't work that way. Not when we were energy independent under President Trump. They want all of us to believe that this pain that we're experiencing is normal and it's natural. We should just live with it.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, most people don't even know that, like the Capitol Police only answer to Congress. They were responsible to Nancy Pelosi directly, who had already made a statement to the National Guard not to deploy anywhere near the Capitol, which is documented information. So a lot of people don't understand how our government actually works and the various divisions of our government, which allows people like the January 6th show, and let's be honest, it's a show. That's why they have Hollywood producers putting it on, is that people, they hear these things, and because politicians suddenly gain IQ points when they win an election, they're supposed to be brilliant and understand everything. And it's like, that's not how it works. And we have to look at the documentation. And especially when we're talking about January 6th, we have to go back to everything that was written about a month, within the first month, before they started rewriting the stories. They started re-editing everything that was done. And they still have yet to show the video that I have seen from several documentaries, the live streams of what actually happened that day, such as the second person who was killed. All people, they love to say, well, people died. Yeah, by the Capitol Police. No one died because of anyone who actually showed up there. The Capitol Police were beating an unconscious woman who is laying on the ground defenseless. Video exists. They threw a man off of the Capitol steps 30 feet to the ground. The video exists. This is not information that is being shared with the American public. You see the shooting of Ashley Babbitt. It has been edited so much because what you don't see 15 seconds before she is shot, 6 officers came into the room in full riot gear, bulletproof vests, and shields. They came up the stairway right behind Ashley Babbitt, and they were controlling the room. They had M4s with them. They came into the room, and then they retreated down the stairs and around the corner of the stairway. That's when she was shot by the Capitol Police, who targeted her. And you can see that. Look at the video in full context, 15 seconds before the shooting, and then follow it until afterwards. And that's when that entire event happened. This has been very well edited, and it's because this is a Hollywood show. This is about media projection. And I think we can all agree that when you start looking at the full context of all the original evidence, you don't get the same conclusion that they're trying to sell to American people today. And they're doing it because they're looking at a landslide loss. Does anyone disagree with me about that?
You're absolutely right. It's a kangaroo court. I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with, and it's a sad state of affairs. I mean, they're going this low. I mean, this is like the last thing they can possibly do, which is pathetic.
Rory,
who did it?
Film.
Yeah, who did it better, the moon landing or January 6th? Here we go.
Okay.
I have to add just a couple of points that really would conclude this January 6th circus show. The first one, like, I agree with Michael 100%. if we're going to apply the notion, see, you can be tried or questioned or investigated for either acting or failing to act. So if they're going to, establish this whole January 6th against President Trump for failing to act, well, applying the same concept, then, like Mike said, we should have a January 6th committee investigate Nancy Pelosi and other, the mayor of Washington, D.C. and the Capitol Police in D.C. for failing to act. That's the first point. The second point is I've been all over the world. I've seen this exact textbook scenario played during the Arab Spring in the Middle East. Exactly. Where, there are snipers on rooftops shooting at protesters and then accusing one side of the political spectrum of being the violent side. This is exactly textbooks that's been played. But on that notion, we're talking about the capital of the United States of America, Washington, D.C. All over the world, smaller countries with nothing near the might and intelligence and advancement of the United States. If anybody comes near a capital city of one of those countries, they're shot on the spot. So we're talking about Washington, D.C., and supposedly people in compact gears and binoculars and vests and weapons and so on, and a conspiracy being built to invade the capital of the United States. And our intelligence departments and FBI and law enforcement failed to detect that ahead of time. So it's either they didn't know about it, which is bad, or they knew about it, which is worse.
Are we talking about the Hunter Biden laptop?
We're talking about.
Sorry, I know. I'm just
we're talking about. We have the most advanced intelligence.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I'm just listening.
Oh, but you're right. Yeah, it's
Same
either
thing.
it's either our law enforcement and intelligence knew about it ahead of time, which they're supposed to, with all the money that we fund them with to have the most advanced technology, or they didn't know about it. In either case, it's bad.
Well, Max, you got to add in one little thing to put this in full context. I want people to have full context when they think about this. There are 35,000, let me say again, 35,000 various law enforcement agents in Washington, D.C. every day.
There's 12 different agencies that operate in D.C. as law enforcement.
Exactly.
And to put it simply, if this exactly happened the way it did, I don't feel I can trust our law enforcement in D.C. anymore. It's time to talk and change it. If our capital is that easy to be attacked, then we need to change who's in charge of our security.
Yeah, it's frustrating from a number of different perspectives. One is they still slip in the word insurrection. And and this goes to Michael's earlier point about definitions, etc. And no one, not a single person, has been charged with insurrection.
And we are back, coming to you live, the S&V 500, episode 3. Blaine Pardoe, I want to go back to you. You were giving some thoughts.
Yeah, no one's been charged with insurrection. All the people they've arrested, no one's been charged with actual insurrection. They've been charging some with seditious conspiracy, many with trespassing events, some with assault, which was wrong. They shouldn't have been assaulting anyone on the way in. I agree with that. And if you try to climb the fence over at the White House, I've watched it before because I used to work 6 blocks from the White House. We would go down Lafayette Park and have lunch every day. And you would occasionally see someone once every 2 or 3 months try to scale the fence of the White House. And I got news for you. They don't treat you gently, and you get locked away for a long time. You're psychiatrically evaluated. So I understand all that. But this definition piece, to what Michael was saying, they keep referring to this as an insurrection. And this is all about keeping this in front of voters. They don't care what the results of the committee are. They just want to keep seeding this out there. They have played with the word insurrection, just like they've played with every other definition. They're going to redefine it. And the way I know this is I watched one of the people say, well, I don't need to explain to you what an insurrection is. Everybody could tell that was an insurrection. And it was like, when that's your definition of anything, you're on incredibly. So this is all a bullshit game designed strictly to keep Donald Trump in a negative light in front of the voters right up until election if they can. They didn't just hire a Hollywood producer. They hired a best-selling author to document this because they said the problem with the 9/11 report is not enough people read it. So now they're in the book publishing business too, and they're there to package a story. This is crazy. I write true crime, and this is criminal all on its own.
And I'll tell you, Attorney General Merrick Garland is saying he's going to open a bunch of investigations into Trump and trying to hold him responsible for January 6th. It's going to go nowhere. That it carries no volume. There's absolutely no merit with that. And Michael, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
It's beyond what we're seeing with Attorney General Merrick Garland. Remember that we also have the Colbert Report that came in and did exactly what people were being accused of.
Exactly.
They entered illegally. They were banging on doors and threatening members of Congress. Whether they're there or not isn't important because AOC wasn't there and it still counted. So they did exactly everything that was done on January 6th. And the Colbert Report walked away. The charges were dropped by Merrick Garland. If this J6 show actually had any credibility, then they would have been able to make charges, which is part of the purview of their congressional committee. They can put out charges and referrals to the AG, which they are not doing. They have not one single charge to pass on to the AG. And they said that at the beginning, which tells us this was never about getting to justice. This has been about getting to political gain. People have to put this all into perspective, which is why I keep adding in some context, because as you keep adding in the context, it goes, well, this doesn't make sense unless you're looking at propaganda for a political gain. I mean, anyone disputes that. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can, you're absolutely correct, because they're talking about starting these hearings up again in the fall, right before the election, because they've already come out and said that they have more evidence and they have more witnesses. So why wait until the fall if it's not political? It's 100% political. And you know what? They look at us, the American people, you're stupid. You're too stupid to realize what we're doing here. It's the whole show is a sham, just like the whole Russia collusion delusion when they were trying to get all of us to believe that President Trump colluded directly with Russia. And then after the Mueller report came out, then they got upset with Mueller because it didn't give them what they want. They've been going after President Trump from day one, and he's not even in office, and they're still going after him. I mean,
I got to correct you on this. I got to correct you on one thing, Will. It's not President Trump. It's you and me. It's the public.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
He is the figurehead that they get to then target us on, because they can't come out and just say, well, you're all a bunch of idiots because you don't agree with us. Do what we say, obey, because everyone would instantly go, no, screw you. No, they use him as the target and going, if you believe him, if you listen to him, if you do anything that isn't on the approved list, well, then you're evil because he's evil. And you're evil by association. You're guilty by association. They have turned, let's think about this. Why do they keep saying MAGA, MAGA, MAGA? It's real simple. Make America great again. They can't say those words, because if you say those words, Americans will enjoy that, because every American wants our country to be great. I don't know anyone in any country, anywhere in the world, that doesn't want their country to be great. So they can't say that. So they say MAGA instead. They say ultra MAGA because they want to turn this into some kind of negative. But how can it be negative to say that I want my country to be the best that it can be, to have the most freedom that it can have? No one in their right mind, when you say it in that manner, which is the definition of the words that make up that little slogan, no one in their right mind would say, no, I don't agree with that. No, that's wrong. I want my country to be last. I want everyone to be better than my country. Then why are you here?
And that's why they're targeting and bringing up nationalism. There's nothing wrong with being a nationalist. I'm a nationalist. I'm a nationalist, so there's nothing wrong with it. And that's why they keep bringing that up, because that's their target. They want America to be last and not first.
And we see the double standard, just like you said earlier, Michael, the Colbert people, just a slap on the wrist. I mean, the Democrats own the law. We see this time and time again. Democrats lie to the FBI. Look at Sussman. Nothing happened to him.
Representative Schiff can't be. First of all, the first thing that would have to happen is Democrats have to win and take control of the House. That's not going to happen. I've said for how many months?
Yeah, I think I read a report today. There's like 30 or 40 seats up, in regards to Republicans taking over Democrat spots.
That's the Bloomberg economics poll. Their internal polling based on the economy and the unemployment rate. It's called the Misery Index. And it's been pretty accurate in many, many elections. But long before that came out, and they're saying 30 to 40 seats, I think that's high. For several months, I've said it's going to be somewhere around 25 seats in the House. We're going to see about 6 seats in the Senate that are going to flip. That's my expectation. I'm on the lower end. Some people are saying a lot more, but that's enough. And the thing is, Schiff, the Democrats won't have control. So Schiff isn't an option. It's not going to happen. But let's say that he was in the running.
But you saw the report, right? I just want to make sure you saw the report.
No, I've seen a couple of reports with him and a couple of other names. Jerry Nadler is another one that they've been talking about. But here's the thing. None of them are going. One, they can't. And this is wishful thinking. And realistically, the report saying that he's going to run and he's trying to get that leverage, that's just about trying to gin up their base to give them some hope that they might possibly win and that they might maintain power. This is about ginning up the voters in California, one of the strongest progressive capitals in the United States. It's, West Coast capital of progressivism, and to get those voters out because they need the big cities. They need LA. They need New York, Chicago, Baltimore, DC. They need their strongholds to all show up and vote, knowing full well that every single one of their constituents go to the store and buy food, and they see 15% of the shelves are empty. They know that they fill up their tanks and they are losing money every day to try and just get to and from work, that they are having brownouts as people are being told, just buy an electric car. Wait a minute, there's a brownout just because I turned on a fan. Forget the air conditioner. You turned on your fan and there's a brownout in your city, and you're telling me I need to plug in an electric car that costs $40,000, $50,000, $80,000 that I don't have? Are you kidding me? And every one of their constituents know this for a fact, and they can't deny it. But they're not connected. Did you see the latest ad? Not Lyndon Sanchez. The new ad, it costs about maybe $2 million that they are pumping through Texas and I believe New Mexico, targeting Latino or Latinx. I hate that word. It's an insult. It's Latino. Let's not appropriate the language. It's a romance language.
Everybody I talk to is like, what the hell is Latinx? I don't want to be called that shit. I mean, every Hispanic I know is insulted by it. I mean, there's no respect behind that term.
It's a romance language. It's an entire language. You want to talk about appropriation? You're trying to change an entire romance language that's been around for a couple thousand years. It's insulting. But their latest ad, they literally admit in the ad that, hey, Democrats are not connected to the public. They have failed economically, but you should vote for the Democrats anyway because they have this plan, this super double secret plan that no one has ever seen, that no one knows any details of, that they can't explain, and you should vote for them anyway. They know they are failing. They know they are going to lose, probably in historic levels. And every step that they are taking right now is only meant to try and keep as much power as they can and to try and keep the powder wet so that when they use the 25th Amendment, they get rid of Joe Biden. We're going to have Kamala in January. They're going to be able to come out and say, see, we've broken the glass ceiling. Black woman is now in charge of the presidency. 2024, we're on the way. You just have to give us more time. Same thing they said to Obama in his first term. He just needs more time. She'll need just more time because we have a plan that we won't tell you about that's going to make everything perfect. By the way, just get used to things being worse. Does anyone disagree with me in the panel? Just for the censors that are out there, we are not offering medical advice, and we are speculating on politics. So we know the 2020 election was the most secure and fantastic. It was rainbows.
You can say whatever you want on this show.
Well, censors. I'm keeping the show on live. Okay, we all know that. But
all right.
Now, focusing on this is all the same root problem. The first problem, Max was talking about it, but I want to make sure it's very clear. We have no international policy. We didn't have one under the Obama administration. We don't have one now. If you did, please tell me what it is, because no one has been able to do this. I've asked, I don't know how many Democrats in Congress and across the nation. Please explain in one sentence, what is the Obama-Biden international policy? We don't know. What we do know is that they are trying to get the Iran nuclear deal, which we know from Kerry when he was Secretary of State in 2000.
I want to pause you though. What about Biden's top officials this past week saying the Iran nuke deal is highly unlikely? There were several people in his. Go ahead.
They've been saying this for months. They've been working on this since the day he got in office. It's been on, it's been off. And the only reason why they're having any delay is because Iran knows that they have their upper hand in the discussion, because they are negotiating. And every time they put out a delay, the Biden administration has offered them new things. They've given them caveats. They have offered reconciliations to the deal just to keep the Iranians talking. We removed several sanctions on nuclear power plants, and production of nuclear fissile material that we have allowed them to no longer have to worry about as part of the concessions, just to be at the table to speak. If I was the Iranians, of course I'd be saying, oh, we're not going to keep moving forward because you're going to give us something else that they want, that they don't have to negotiate for, that they don't have to make any terms on. They're just going to be given what they want. So of course it's off again. It's been off again. It's been on again for 18 months. They're still trying. They are desperate to get this deal done. And it's been documented. You can't go by U.S. media. You have to look overseas. You have to read the Hindustan Times, look at the BBC, look at Jerusalem Times, go to the Iranian newspapers directly. You'll hear exactly where the true status of this is. But this is all the same problem. We have a lack of an international policy with a weak leadership that is so desperate. We have Joe Biden back in the basement. The reason why so many Democrats are surprised that I know everyone around the world. I know international policy. The reason why they're so shocked to see how weak he is because for 2020, he was in the basement the entire time. We never got to see him actually out and around the people. It was brilliant in terms of the marketing to be able to sell this guy as a strong leader because no one got to see him fail. But that's okay. The big problem is we are watching. China is saying they're going to shoot down Nancy Pelosi over Taiwan. We have the Iranians saying that they want to. What's so funny about this? When have the Iranians in the last 45 years, when have they not said that they are going to destroy America? But you
got to understand, we have the weakest leader of all time. I mean, now we're in a different ball game now. We're in a different era.
We're not. But Rory, we're not in a new ball game. It is the same ball game. They have never, not once, said that they wouldn't kill us. When they made the deal with the same day that we signed the Iran nuclear deal, the Ayatollah Khamenei was out telling the people that he's going to destroy the great devil of the United States, no matter what deal, and they were going to make nuclear missiles. They have consistently not changed their story ever. Meanwhile, we're here saying, oh, they're being nice and friendly to us. No, they're not. And by the way, we have funded global terror through the Iran nuclear deal. John Kerry himself on January of 2016 on CNBC came on to the news and said, we funded global terror because we gave them all the money, which went right to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and that funded global terror for years. And we're about to do the same thing again, which is part of the reason why Israel and most of the Middle East are like, don't do this, including Saudi Arabia, who have no respect for Biden. That's why they wouldn't pick up the phone for 3 months. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates would not pick up a phone from him, which is why Biden had to go to them because he's so weak. And when we have the rest of the world seeing this weakness of a man who can't walk up a flight of stairs, a man who has to have a cue card saying, you sit in your seat. If you talk to these people, he has a cue card on this. This doesn't say that.
When to change his diaper.
Yeah, we have had, when he goes to see the Pope. Yeah, we don't have, look, America has survived weak presidents before. We have had presidents that are just half a step behind. I'll give you an example, Jimmy Carter. We have never had a president who is weak, inept, and has an ineffective plan all at the same time. We've just never had that before, and this is the consequences of it. So internationally, we have no respect, and that is why we are seeing so many of these players. And Rory, you remember on the show, I told you this like the first time I showed up. It is not a World War III scenario. It is 3 wars in the world all happening at the same time because of the ineptitude and the lack of a plan. And yes, Max is right. We are seeing, this is what I know for a fact, we have seen agents from Al-Qaeda that came into the United States for terrorists that we luckily caught that were planning an assassination against a former president. So we know that individuals in these 250,000 people that we're catching, God knows how many we're not, 250,000 people a month entering our border because it's wide open. Thank you, Kamala, for being on the job. We know that terrorists have come into America and they have tried to attack our political leaders. And we have no reason to believe that there aren't more of them because we caught 4, but there's 250,000 a month that are coming in. All of this comes back to the same root core. Gentlemen can answer this, and I know Nick wants to address this as well. I don't think he's going to disagree with anything I've said so far, but it all comes back to we have no international policy. We have a weak leader. We have no one with any kind of plan and no respect around the world. And when you add those things up in a time of economic weakness throughout the world, well, the dominoes just start falling. Am I wrong, Nick?
Yeah, certainly you are absolutely correct on the last point. I would add also that what's problematic right now is that we're in the window space for Taiwan to cross that strait there, should they wish to invade. There's a period there, right, of a few months where it's safe for them to travel. Otherwise, the water is too turbulent and choppy. They can't exercise that. They can't enact that military operation. I don't think China is the country to drop nukes, to be honest. I mean, anything's possible, obviously. We don't know how far gone this thing can go in terms of it getting out of control, heading towards that 3-war scenario that Michael was talking about. But most importantly, why all of a sudden would we, I say this to people all the time, why would we all of a sudden believe the global fake news media? I mean, these people are a disaster. If we look back at the way Ukraine was reported, it was... Yeah.
When I see Ukraine and Russia footage on these mainstream media outlets, I just don't even pay attention. I think it's so fake. I mean, they've had to retract so many stories. They've had to come out and say some of their footage was from video games and movies. I mean, you don't know what to believe. It's all over the place. Continue though, Nick. Sorry.
Yeah. So look, the way I reported it from about March when it was all sort of starting to kick off, and you can know if you're attuned to it, you know what's happening because the headlines start happening, right? And the headlines are just huge and out of control, and they don't match reality, and they start using very big, scary adjectives. Even for them, they use a lot. And Putin was starting to be cast in the same shadow, or same light rather, as Gaddafi and Hussein and Assad, right? These people, it's the same operation. It's the same old tired script over and over and over for regime change. The question is what regime... Just
because they don't go along with, what the status quo is, what these other countries want them to do. It's almost like, they want to do what's best for their country, and everybody else has to interfere and be the world police. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and absolutely, and there's a lot of evidence there that these countries in particular wanted to be free from central banks, right?
Right, and that's another thing I was going to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to be tied into that. They want to be able to create wealth for their own country. And most importantly, they don't want to be screwed over with interests and levies and global taxes, right? Which is what this is all coming to now. I think as things start to go crazy around the world, we're seeing the clear split between this one world government and the nation states. And Taiwan is very much a nation state. The dangerous part about China is that it already had a lot of the technology that are looking to put in place in households and stuff. They've already had their social credit systems, surveillance systems, in around 600 cities in China, 12 countries in Africa, where they've been digging up minerals to create the path for their One Belt, One Road. So to kind of wrap up this point, I guess it's difficult to know what China would do, but historically, they're typically not a major aggressor. They like to sit back for as long as possible, unless someone wants to disagree with that.